Hello, how are you? Let's go over the details of what's happening right now in these attacks on nuclear facilities. We're also going to cover other matters, other important topics about what's happening in the world. A big greeting to Francisco Arce, first comment of the day, at least for this broadcast. To Nico, Nicole, Franco, Fidel, Nova's dad, and the whole community that's joining in. Alright, let's give it a like. Let's get to the news about what's happening in the world. Get your coffee ready and let's talk, let's have a conversation and see what's happening in this conflict between Israel, the United States, and Iran. Although this issue is escalating or about to escalate, according to what the Turkish Ministry of Foreign Affairs says, into a broader conflict, more countries are about to make the decision to expand the conflict, and it seems that's what Iran wants. The strangest thing of all, let's get into the details, let's see what's happening. Well, just a moment ago we saw this image, let's put it here. Let's see if the image shows up now. The one that disappeared. There it is. It's this image. It's surprising. Well, the attack that just happened now on Dimona in Israel would be, according to what they say, on nuclear facilities. That's what the government of Israel says, that's what the United States government says, and that's what Iran itself says. Let's go into the details of what's been reported, because, well, an explosion of this kind, in which the defense system tried to engage, to activate, so obviously it's surprising that a nuclear facility wasn't able to, well, have its defense. What Iran claims is that it directly hit a site, a nuclear facility, in Dimona, right? Huh? Him? Some sources from Israel claim that it hit nearby, but not directly, and well, there are several facts. We'll be commenting on what's happening, but obviously it's an important issue. Now, if we look at where Dimona is located, right, it's in this part of Israel and we're getting closer there. Let's zoom in a little more on this part. It's at this point. Since 1960, these nuclear facilities have existed, where there are experimental reactors, and it is believed that at least part of Israel's nuclear program has been built there. Some say there are facilities there, possibly storing atomic weapons, but this doesn't appear to be true. They appear to be in a different region. The point is that, well, it's happening at the state level. What is known about it? So far, we don't have some of the details yet. The Iranian attack with ballistic missiles seems to have obviously increased the risk of a direct military escalation. This is what just happened. Do you think this will be the first step toward the army entering Iran, or is it possible that we might see the army if this continues to escalate? So, there are some who claim that this is inevitable at the Armus Stadium, but also in Tehran and in Isfahan and at Iran's nuclear facilities. An attack with Iranian projectiles was reported in the vicinity of Dimona, a strategic area because it houses facilities linked to the nuclear program. Emergency services are already in the area. Damage and possible casualties have not yet been confirmed. An update from the International Atomic Energy Agency is expected today to see if they have any confirmed data about any kind of radioactive issue. This is also a topic that needs to be analyzed. Internal damage has not been confirmed. What is being reported is that the impact occurred near the facilities. But if this is happening right now, what will happen in a month, in 15 days? Where is the conflict heading? Let's go to some of the most interesting points of this attack as well, but there are two things that are drawing attention today. Is this the new map of where Iran might attack? It covers practically all of Europe, except for the United Kingdom, Spain, and Portugal. Portugal is one of the countries that apparently is completely out of Iran's reach. If we look here, there's Spain. Spain would be within reach, at least a part of it. For example, Barcelona would also be within reach of a hypothetical attack from Iran. A good part of France, this area, this last circle, is possibly within reach. Is that believed because yesterday there was an attack, or at least an attempted attack towards Diego de Garcia? And given this probability, obviously the alerts are in place, he says. Almost all of Europe, including parts of the United Kingdom, are now within range of missiles that the Iranians have demonstrated. Well, now with this attack towards the island of Diego Garcia, this is an alert that will also have to be analyzed in the coming days or weeks by Europe, by NATO. Today, just a few moments ago, the Ministry of Foreign Affairs of Turkey issued a notice stating that the Gulf countries are considering operating or even starting to attack Iran. If that happens, it would become a conflict involving more than 5 countries. And well, at that point, it really depends on one's point of view. But when there are already many countries involved, this is starting to look like a more global war, let's say, so as not to call it a world war just yet. But obviously, this would also imply the possibility that other players could enter the conflict. And here we're talking about Asia, some countries in Asia, and even some countries in Europe. The United States, on the other hand, attacked this area. That is, these facilities that are also nuclear. In fact, the attack that happened just a few moments ago, I mean the one that happened in this area of Dimona. Inside Israel, this nuclear facility is after, according to reports, an attack that the United States carried out on Israel. At this point, they attacked tanks. During the last few weeks, they've been saying it's 21 days, not 21 anymore. It's been 22 days of attacks now, right? It's gotten to the point where, hey, we're getting closer to a month now. It doesn't seem this will decrease. The attacks that have been carried out by the United States and Israel against our country, they say. The Iranians in a statement claimed that the Shahid Ahmad and Roshan enrichment complex in Natanz had been attacked. This was attacked this morning according to their statements. And the same International Atomic Energy Agency, through a statement released by the Tasman News Agency, reportedly stated that the bombing goes against international commitments, including the Nuclear Non-Proliferation Treaty, among other nuclear safety regulations. This organization indicates that the country's Nuclear Security Systems Center carried out technical and specialized assessments to determine the possibility of combating radioactive contamination at the site. According to the results from Natanz, at the moment no radioactive material leak has been detected and there is no danger, they assure. For the residents, at least that's what is being reported at the moment. But we still need to see if the International Atomic Energy Agency is really conducting the study internally, or if it's being done from the outside, or what's going on. The same goes for Israel. To see what kind of alerts need to be in place. In that sense, let's move on to other important matters as well. It is reported that there was also an attempted attack at the IAT. Yes, let's see if we can get to this place. Look, it's over here. That's a port that leads out to the Red Sea. This port has been or has tried to be constantly attacked by the Yemenis, by the Houthis already last year, the year before. But now, according to the Israeli Defense Forces, a new attack with Iranian ballistic missiles was detected targeting the IAT area in the very south of Israel. According to reports, the sirens could be sounding at any moment. They are probably already sounding right now. Because look, when a ballistic missile is launched from Iran towards Israel, first the alert comes through on the cell phone. The sirens don't sound there yet. The sirens go off when it's already imminent and you have to be in the shelter at that moment. But before that, when the missiles are on their way, you get an alert on your cell phone and they tell you to get into the shelter. You have 10 minutes, so stay calm and let's go to the shelters. Because maybe you're at the corner store or who knows where. Well, If there's no shelter near your house, then you have to look for a shelter in the area. And then the sirens go off at the moment when the missiles are already coming in. That's what in 19 minutes ago in Israel it was reported in Israeli media. This is what I'm telling you about. So probably by now at this very moment the sirens are possibly going off. We'll stay alert. And if you're listening to us from over there, from the Middle East, from Israel, well, I appreciate it. Maybe a comment to see if this can already be confirmed. I mean the sirens. No, they're already reporting they would be giving it now. At this moment, the International Atomic Energy Agency is also reporting a notice about what's happening in Dimona. The International Atomic Energy Agency states that no abnormal levels of radiation were detected after the attack. In Dimona, that is, it's also reported in Dimona that there wouldn't be any radioactivity, any leak, or any situation like that, right? So that's also important to mention, right? They just said it, well, just a few minutes ago, but it's also part of this update. Isn't it also interesting to see that part? It wasn't unexpected. It was expected that this would be reported by the agency, by the International Atomic Energy Agency, part of the United Nations. And well, this also means understanding that the risks are there, right? There will likely be another, more complete update or comment later, but for now they say there's no problem, right? Let's move on to another important point as well. While we wait to see what's happening at the Washington Dulles International Airport, let's discuss some other topics. By the way, Mokhtar Khamenei still hasn't appeared, this so-called supreme leader, supposedly, because he hasn't been seen. Except for rumors, and there have been many. Some say he died, was wounded, that he's in Russia, that he's in Iran. 1,000 rumors, 1,000 things that come up, so we'll just have to wait and see. But at first glance, what we do see is that he's a figure right in the middle of conflict, in the midst of war and escalation. He has given a notice, a payment, 1 or 2 warnings here and there, and all of them have been written and read by someone else, not by him. So, neither his voice nor his image appears on his side. And could it be? Or an ambiguity so that no one keeps searching, so that it's assumed he might have passed away. And they prefer to stay there, kind of in that in-between state. Even to analyze who could be internal enemies, or that in fact he is no longer alive, and that the one leading could be someone else, right? That would also be another possibility, right? But for now, he hasn't shown up, has he? The fact is that, well, that's what we see so far. Now let's move on to other important matters as well. Look, the ambulance service has now raised the number of injured to more than 30 due to the Dimona attack. In other words, the impact, as you saw, well, there was no defense. It's not that debris fell, but the missile actually hit, and well, it made an impact. According to reports, 47 people were taken to a hospital after the impact. Of those, the number increased. They first said less than 20, then they said 30. The latest report from the Times Israel confirms that 47 people have now been taken to a hospital. This doesn't necessarily mean that they are seriously injured, or maybe they are, but it does mean that they are in the hospital, at least for a checkup. Now, what has been reported is that among them there is a little one, a child who is in serious condition after being hit by shrapnel. That seems to be the most serious case there is. There is also a woman who is slightly injured, 30 years old, and apparently the others, the 40-something people, have more like scrapes and, let's say, milder injuries. This is being reported according to what David Adams says based on what is known. According to the MDA, another 14 people are receiving, for example, treatment for anxiety or other types of things, he says. They are minor injuries or also, well, people who fell or got hurt because they were running to take shelter. These are more like incidental things, according to what he reports. Another thing that stands out is that it's known this boy is about 12 years old. He's the one in the most serious condition of all. That would also be another important point. And well, let's move on to another interesting topic. He says that another topic that stands out is that the chief of staff, this gentleman, would have given a report. His name is Yal Samir. And well, it also confirms what was observed yesterday by the Revolutionary Guard. And if we are halfway there, but the direction is clear, within the next few days, we will possibly be seeing other types of weapons over there in Iran. He states that the extensive damage caused to Iran in recent weeks is beginning to turn into a systemic, strategic military achievement. But at the same time, what we see is that Iran's capabilities remain, and not only remain, but also show how this kind of missiles, well, they have the capability to reach other locations, but they don't have the capability to reach areas that are better protected. We hadn't considered that they had thought about us, so also, well, let's be alert about that part, right? No. Another thing that also catches my attention is what's happening not only in Dimona, but also towards the Gulf countries. Today, not only attacks have been reported, but drones arriving in different countries are already being published almost in real time. I imagine that they also want to show a bit of, let's say, to show the Arab population within these countries what they are facing. If they must attack, they need to respond so people don't see it as if they are attacking a brotherly population. If they don't want to present them now, well, as what they see, right? That it's a country that's shooting and wants to respond, right? Basically, it's, let's move on to another important matter. A curious thing that's happening right now. In Oman, they're reporting floods in this region ever since the attack on March 11. Do you remember how on March 11 they hit or struck the oil in this region of the world hard? Well, now the opposite is being reported. They didn't get past the fire at the depots, and now there's also this flood, right? This is the Al Mavila station in Oman, where they are reporting heavy rains and flooding in this area. Well, that's how it is. It took them several days, by the way, to put out the fires caused by this situation. No, here it's fine, but that's part of what they're reporting with those heavy rains. A few moments ago, we saw how it's been spreading. There have been reports of fires, but they assure us that they're under control. What happened there was more than a week ago, not in the middle of the conflict, and apparently it has been controlled. The attacks towards Oman have decreased. What has been observed in recent days is that in this area of Beirut towards the south, attacks against Hezbollah are still being launched. I'm sure they'll report it. Those areas in the suburbs of Beirut have been shaken by a series of explosions. In the early hours of today, Israeli forces launched new attacks in Beirut, also towards Tehran from Washington itself. The Treasury Department has already temporarily authorized the purchase and sale of Iranian oil in maritime transit, which, according to Iran itself, is not of interest to them. And at the same time, operations are taking place in different parts of Beirut and also in different areas of this region. What's the name of the general area of Lebanon, right? The south of Lebanon? That's where operations have been ongoing and attacks have intensified recently. No? Let's move on to other matters, other topics that are also drawing attention today. But first, the focus or the main topic, right? What they're trying to control now is the Strait of Hormuz. Isn't it expected that this week, the upcoming week, operations will start taking place in this area? Is it going to be attacking, apparently by air, different facilities? In fact, today, CENTCOM was already reporting on it. And it showed some images that we don't know if they're from the archives or not, but it showed some images of how that area is being attacked. No, I mean, that's going to be the focus, let's say, that they're going to have. Not operating and, let's say, in some way, to clear all military installations from this entire area. To attack bases, to attack areas where the same munitions, the same Iranian missile launchers are located nearby. And in theory, to make the passage freer, or not to make it freer, because from here, what is it that they have? I mean, what is it that they're afraid of? They're not afraid of ballistic missiles. What they're afraid of are drones, boats. Basically, they're used like missiles or drones, but they're hard to detect and very fast. It's somewhat similar to the strategy that Ukraine used at the time against Russia, against the Russian naval force. And now we know the result it had, with the naval force withdrawing from Crimea, right? Mostly, right? Clearly the most intense and biggest part. So, well, let's move on to other important points as well. And a statement is being made right now. That's what I'm saying, that narratives come and go, right? Right now, a message from Octava Kamine is coming out. I don't know yet because it's just coming out just a few minutes ago. There are no reports. Let's check if it mentions the format, whether it was a video or text, and how everything has turned out. But look, let's see. I believe they already posted this on their official page. It seems that if not, well, it's red or it's not in text, I think. There it is, look. On their page, they show this. Yes, there's the text. Let's read it, right? Because it's probably going to be at least interesting from a news perspective. What is this person saying? Let's not go into detail. And right off the bat, I tell you, from what I'm seeing, this is the warning, according to Iran's perspective and according to the perspective of the so-called supreme leader only sends messages and never appears. Who they say have already won. They are announcing who they say have already won. Just imagine, well, the leader would have sent a message. This is also a message for the Persian New Year and Eid al-Fitr. In the midst of a context of high military and political tension as well, he acknowledges that his country is facing a recent conflict, including attacks attributed to the United States and Israel. He states that the enemies tried to destabilize the government, but assures that the population responded with unity and resistance. He stresses that losing leaders and key figures in the current war would be a turning point for the regime. He points out that there is a media war to divide the population, warning about computer and information manipulation. Rather, he announces that there is a central strategy, which is the resistance economy, focused on strengthening the country in the face of sanctions and external pressure. He also mentions and accuses false flag operations of being carried out to create more serious conflicts with neighboring countries. He says the message seeks to consolidate internal support and project stability in the face of a volatile international scenario. And, well, here's where the point comes in, right? He says they claim to be winning. Iran declares that it has defeated the enemy in the conflict with Israel and the United States. That's what he says. He says the enemy has been defeated, he stated, assuring that the military actions have caused contradictory reactions from their adversaries. Well, it's a message that says a lot and says nothing at the same time, right? Where is he? Obviously, he's not going to say it, but I mean, is he in Iran? Where is he really? Is he alive? He doesn't show a single sign that he's alive, just a text. He posts this on his own page, not now. This post had already been circulating since yesterday because yesterday was when the announcement about the prayer was made. But today it draws attention because supposed voices of him start to appear, and it turned out that, well, it wasn't true that it was her. Doesn't it seem strange, like they're trying to show that he's alive, but at the same time without actually showing him, right? Because, I mean, his page is there, right? And absolutely nothing appears, at least for now. No, there's no reaction about the nuclear issue because, like I said, this is a text he sent to several Iranian networks since yesterday. So basically what they've done is they've just been replicating it, right? Another issue that also draws attention is that Saudi Arabia itself is giving the Iranian embassy staff 24 hours to leave the country. Are they about to break off relations? Let's talk about that. It's already confirmed this time. Right now, they are giving the Iranian embassy, 24 hours to leave immediately. So, well, here it is, heading in another direction, right? You could see it coming with that meeting they had in Turkey. Do you remember that a few days ago you could see the foreign minister of Qatar, Saudi Arabia, and other countries visiting Turkey, where they've been making some kind of agreement, some kind of arrangement? The fact is that the Turkish foreign minister said that they are already considering the possibility of going further, of attacking, even today. There was also a statement in which the joint communique included the United Kingdom, Germany, Japan, a bunch of countries saying, calm down about the Strait issue, and now the United Arab Emirates. But at the same time, right now, they're telling the Iranians to leave, that they have 24 hours to get out. So let's wait and see what happens tomorrow with the Iranian diplomats. If they manage to reach some agreement so that the Arab countries aren't attacked, or else, well, they're going to war. Basically, that's the turn things are taking right now, not a major shift, obviously. Meanwhile, changing the subject, Vladimir Putin is facing a new enemy. Let's talk about that. Vladimir Putin, the Russian president. As you know, he likes to control the media as much as possible. And there's an issue that has been emerging and gaining strength, which are the pro-Russian, pro-Putin bloggers who have become famous over there in Russia. It's just that suddenly the bloggers don't agree with some things with Vladimir Putin and clashes start to happen. There have already been some in the past, but now this is getting worse, and obviously this has raised red flags in the Kremlin. The criticism from Russian bloggers who were pro-Russian and pro-Putin has been increasing. The criticism from these bloggers. Why? Because suddenly the Kremlin started blocking the internet. Something is happening internally, and there, well, as you know, there's a war of rumors and talk, and some things that are actually facts. For example, there's speculation about the idea that there is and this has been reported by major media outlets, let's say, from the United States and Europe, and other countries where there is information or suspicions that there could be an internal plot against Putin. Just another Monday, I don't know. This isn't the first time we've heard this. But this time, this information comes along with the fact that they have been firing or imprisoning, not firing. But some members went out a window, even a general who also jumped out a window, or another former Minister of Defense who was detained in the past weeks. But if we put it all together, you say, well, suddenly it's like there's a purge of the military, and at the same time the internet starts getting blocked, but now completely. So the complaint that bloggers are making is basically that Russia is disconnecting from the global network. Just like that. According to the reporter, a new opposition is emerging in Russia, who went from being pro-Putin to being against him. Do they call them Z-bloggers or just bloggers? Yes. That is, those who support the military campaign in Ukraine, but who strongly support the Russians attacking Ukraine. I mean, that's the point. And now? Right now, have they been upset with Russia after the decision to declare war on the internet, to completely block the internet? According to what they report, it says they hated the bans. They are outraged with the work of the Duma, the Chamber of Deputies. And they describe what is happening inside as an enemy. And is the Russian state turning towards the population? For example, Ivan Flipo, a journalist and scholar in the Russian ultra-nationalist community, to the independent press, says the mistakes made, for which they have also achieved the impossible. That the turbo-patriots, those who were super supportive of Putin, are now aligning themselves with the demands of the real Russian opposition. The criticism has been increasing as the authorities have been blocking the internet in what experts call the beginning of a disconnection that Russia is seeking to make complete, like the North Korea level. What they are looking for is a complete disconnection and just have an internal network, nothing more. It's a war that's being waged against internal communication, and this has caused enormous annoyance within that country. Another matter that also draws attention, Washington confirms the destruction of a ship. Sorry, let's get into the details. What did you think? The United States claims that today an Iranian bunker was destroyed, a ship, an Iranian bunker equipped with cruise missiles. According to reports, it was right next to the Strait of Hormuz. The United States Army, led by United States Central Command, reported that warplanes attacked and destroyed the facilities. Facilities that were partly underground and stored anti-ship cruise missiles, launchers, missiles, and other strategic equipment. The report on the Hormuz crisis is also escalating to higher levels as it is already reaching global financial levels, and that's why they are going to speed up that part. We're definitely moving on to other important matters as well. A big greeting, by the way, to the community that's joining in. If you're just coming in, go ahead and give it a like, go ahead and share it. A big greeting to 67, to Cybernator, to the whole Liceo community. How have you been? A big greeting to everyone. Thank you so much for joining us, says 67. Well, no, Trump used to say Iran was defeated, that they were only launching 1 or 2 drones. It's incredible that the United States has that president. Greetings, 67. How have you been, Liceo? What's up? Miguel, hello. Good afternoon, Pepe. Can you see in other places, France and other places, please? Thanks to places far from the usual, of course. Are you referring to the map of where the missiles can reach these? Yes, I mean, look, this is one of the maps from one of the illustrations they've been publishing now. But it's basically what we saw yesterday, right? In this illustration, it shows what we saw yesterday on Google Maps, that Iran's range is about 4,000 kilometers, and at 4,000 kilometers, well, you cover a good part of France a little piece of Spain, right? Germany, Poland, no. I mean, you have the possibility of covering practically all of Europe except the United Kingdom. Most of the United Kingdom isn't covered, only a small part is. Portugal, etc. No, but yes, France is included. One part is spared, but another isn't. For example, one could be inside. If you look, there are the 4,000 kilometers. I mean, it does reach a bit of the United Kingdom, practically all of France, yes, a part of Spain, and all of North Africa. That's what these missiles would theoretically reach. I say in theory because so far the only thing we've seen is 2 missiles that were launched toward this point. Look, I mean, it's let's see if we can put it over there. It's this area. Yes. It's the famous Diego Garcia. I'll zoom out so you can see the calculation. Is this one? You can't see us anymore, but look, it's here. Look where Iran is. Let me shrink the map so it's easier to see. Still good. They are, well, smaller. Good. Let's move back a little, and that's good. It's this area. Good. This little piece, and here it will go well. I mean, turn it around, and it becomes, well, where could these attacks operate, right? I mean, here we're seeing it, we're going to see it, we can just show the picture. There it is, look. That would theoretically cover the missiles, which I repeat, we don't know the number of. It doesn't have any of that, but it's the part that's been criticized the most about the conflict. That they didn't have all the information, they weren't prepared, at least not for these surprises. No. No, that it wasn't forceful. That too, I mean, just look at how many pounds have fallen, how many bases have been destroyed, I mean, that part. There's no doubt that there has been forcefulness in that part. What is also beyond doubt is that it has surprises, and we have to remember what the bite is. That's what they call that shadow government that Iran has. For every main figure, they have other substitutes who have operational capability. So you take out one, but there are already people there, right? I mean, people who, in theory, are part of a kind of structure that's unknown. I mean, whose names aren't mentioned, who aren't known. And because of that, it makes it even more complicated to try to remove or completely break the regime, right? So, what we've been able to observe, and we've been watching different analysts, former intelligence advisors from the United States, from Trump himself, and so on. Well, what they say is that there were serious mistakes. Thinking that if you can't carry out an attack, which is an operation and not a war, it's better not to do it. I mean, unless that's the only option, right? And it seemed like there were other possibilities. That's what people currently believe. Well, that's that. What's done is done. And now, even though that will probably have other legal consequences internally in the United States. Right now, what Europe and Asia have to analyze is what's next, right? I mean, what can be done with what's available, not with what you wish you had, right? Because doing nothing could also be a mistake. I mean, actively putting pressure to make it end. Or also go in with the plan to protect those oil tankers, because if not, it's going to be complicated, right? What the United Kingdom does, for example, with the Typhoon, which is flying to supposedly be protecting. Well, it's already been seen that they do work for something, I guess, I don't know, but the attacks keep happening, they keep being reported, and they're also still being observed. Since there is practically no activity in the Strait of Hormuz, right? They've also been observing, these images have been reported right here in Monterrey. People have been seeing the Iraqis, the Iraq national team, here in the hotels of Monterrey, right? According to the reports. Well, I imagine that's when they go out, when they're leaving. Let's move forward. There they are, already on the trip. Well, they're going. I imagine they're just leaving. Yes, they're just leaving, because that's a hotel. From over there, from Iraq, from that area, no, but well, the Iraq team is coming to Mexico, right? That will also be an interesting topic. Obviously, that's for the playoffs, to see if they're still going to make it to the World Cup or not. Look, right, so that's also interesting. By the way, yesterday there was talk about this Portugal match, not about Portugal and Mexico. A match of, well, as I understand it, an opening match for the, not for the World Cup, but an opening match for the Azteca Stadium. No, look at what's happening right now. Let's go to another detail. At this moment, Iran is issuing an evacuation order for the following places: Doha, the capital of Qatar, and surrounding areas. According to reports, Iran is issuing an evacuation order. That means that right now Iran is about to launch an attack, this time towards Qatar. Let's go to the map. Let's zoom in a little more. And well, according to the reports from Iran, they're launching it just like they've been doing lately. They're planning to attack at least 60 toward this region. What's that? What kind of attack or where to? Well, they haven't published the map yet, at least I haven't seen it. Let's see, they usually publish a map where they say exactly where the attacks are going. Let's see if they show it in a moment. But an evacuation is already being requested. See? So that's also important, because if what, and well, the forces there from SEDCOM and the United Kingdom itself and all that, I don't know if they're going to operate, but in theory they should, now. They're also saying that Saudi Arabia is accelerating military movements as well. So, maybe they're thinking there could be an operation from them against Iran. Let's wait and see if that happens. By the way, it's also being reported that Gustavo Petro is saying that the United Nations are no longer useful since, as he says, they can't prevent armed conflicts. That's what Petro himself says. No, that also draws attention. Another matter that also draws attention is, well, a person. Let's see if we can observe it here. This person who is here? A man takes a selfie with the Italian Prime Minister, Giorgia Meloni, and stated that he would vote no in the referendum, which he supports with a yes. Meloni replied, "Loyalty is democracy, no problem." I mean, she says he voted no and she didn't really like it, but the referendum, well, he's just not in favor. And she told him, well, it's no big deal, I guess, if it bothered him, right? But he says it's no big deal. The steps are the referendums. But she was thrown off. What happened? All right, the map is ready. The one that sent the Iranians. Look, is it this one? Very much in the style of how Israel releases maps when it's going to attack Lebanon. These are the evacuation zones within Doha over there in Qatar. No, that's the area that needs to be evacuated according to what the Iranians have said. Well, let's see what happens, but to start with, it was a very active weekend. Obviously, this hasn't stopped, and what we can see is that the attacks are still ongoing. From Iran too, they tried to make it seem like they weren't. Everything is calmer now. Nothing is happening anymore. Well, that's clearly not the case. We have to pay attention to that, I insist. The decrease in missiles lasted several days, in fact, almost a week of fewer missiles. But right now, they've been increasing in the last few days, including today. For them, they're already at 22. With what's happening right now, we could basically say they're already increasing, right? They went from launching hundreds of missiles to barely a dozen missiles a day, and now again to several dozen missiles a day. Not hundreds, but several dozen, right? So, well, that's at least interesting. Let's move on to other important matters. Today, Elon Musk released a message saying that he pays the salaries of Transportation Security Administration employees. Today, in the United States, because lately there have been many very complex situations when going to the airport and experiencing it. He released a message in which, but at the same time, there isn't enough staff, so he says, well, I'll pay the salaries of the missing employees. I don't know how seriously he meant it or anything, but today, Musk released a message saying he would pay the salaries of the same immigration and customs enforcement employees. I mean, they could send immigration and customs enforcement agents to report to the airports. That's also a big issue, really. Well, because Transportation Security Administration agents have to have a certain level of preparation against terrorism, against certain elements, so putting immigration and customs enforcement agents there doesn't replace the Transportation Security Administration agents. No, but well, that's what they want to do. It's part of what was announced today. By the way, it's also reported that the director of the FBI, Robert Mueller, delivered a message. Not today. Musk sent a message saying that he didn't get along well with Trump. In fact, Trump. He commented that now that he has passed away, he won't be able to do any more harm. He is an enemy of Trump. Why? Because he is the one who investigates the salaries. The 2016 Russian plot, he investigated the connections between Russia and Donald Trump himself. Well, that's why he's basically an enemy of Donald Trump. Robert Mueller, 81 years old on Friday today, delivered a message about the salaries, the employees of the United States in 2016, and their contacts with Donald Trump's campaign. Mueller chose not to bring criminal charges against the sitting president. Today, Musk delivered a message in which he paid employees in the Trumpian style. Let's move on to other important matters as well. Today, Musk sent a message about what happened at Israel's nuclear plant, clarifying that for now there is no damage to the salaries of the employees at this experimental nuclear plant that Israel has over there in Dimona. And they also report again that they have not detected any kind of radioactive leak. Also, what the war experts are reporting is that at this moment in the war, with the attack on Dimona, with the reported attacks, they are apparently heading towards the target. Today, Musk sent a message to the employees about salaries and towards Qatar, towards Doha. Today, Elon said the conflict shows no signs of easing, and he sent a message about employees' salaries, which is also important. Today, Musk sent a message saying he was paying the employees' salaries. He sent a message about employee salaries today. Who's gonna be around here says, "How are you, Diego? Greetings, good day. How have you been? Thank you so much for being here with us today." A message in which he paid for the day. "Thank you for being here," says Aurelio Pepe. Yeah, the one who used to pay salaries, the employees who passed away in Spain. Hopefully that's not an excuse for Trump, he says. I didn't know, no. Well, maybe something happened, but as of today, sometimes, but normally he doesn't get involved in those kinds of things much. That's it. He sent a message about the salaries here, those of the... When we were living in Quintana Roo, we often got to talk with people who work there. Hotel said it's a nightmare. Today's tourism spirit, it started to focus a lot. Certain hotels focused. The message was about attracting spring break tourism. Didn't they say it wasn't good business, that they regretted it because the young people come with a certain attitude, the wages, the alcohol, doing everything possible to take advantage. They destroy things in the hotel, there are suicides, there's everything. gente saltando de los balcones. And they don't let it. The only money goes to the hotel, but it doesn't go out. The tourism that spends is the tourism that takes tours, who bring money, spring breakers who buy the all-inclusive package and so on, because they don't bring a lot of cash. And so, besides, they generate a lot. I mean, they're drinking all day long. This one reported, the employees from Today said, reported that employees have nervous breakdowns because of all the problems they have to deal with. In one case, they told us about a girl who jumped off the balcony. We're talking about a balcony and not to land in the pool. And where she lands, half of her body, the upper part, lands in the pool, but the lower part lands on the concrete, and that's how both her legs ended up. Musk launched. Some employees are suing the hotel. But anyway, that's how it is. It's really intense. What do you with spring break? Well, surely every year there are some pretty intense incidents, he says. As you said, he calls it an excuse like the one today. I mean, just imagine filling the airports with light. Well, it's going to be an interesting topic because it's not just those who want to migrate, but in general, we can already see how they've been choosing to stop people. As of today, you spend 2 or 3 months in those little jails they have there with very bad conditions, and then they send you back. He claimed that he was paying the salaries of those people, but has tourism in the United States dropped even more because of that? They found him dead and his cell phone was stolen from that time until today. Yeah, it's strange. Is it strange? Is it? Regards Aurelio, says Mario. Like, even Iranian missiles arrived, they weren't ours. One hit Mario, a missile fell, and the other missile had to be shot down. I want to understand that the second one, maybe it was going to hit over there. They launch a missile at us to pay the salaries. Employees from Sin had no problems. They didn't have any trouble. It's a United States base, one of the most important ones, pero they never expected they would actually make it all the way over there. It was unlikely since they supposedly lack those weapons. So was it already a message saying that he was paying the salaries of the experimentals, or are they really at that level? I mean, just imagine if they had a significant number of missiles and wanted to cause a problem. If they launched 40 or 50, I mean, let's say they have really, really tremendous capabilities, then it could be dangerous. Or if they go to other places, like towards Europe. That's another issue that would also be tremendous. It's just that, for example, if they hit the island today, Musk messages those from back then. I don't know if that's normal. Logically speaking, he says, "Greetings from Mario. Greetings oral from today." Musk launched. They go wild. Yes, they go wild. Tremendous. Today is getting intense. The balcony was also among the English. Also Eliseo. I don't know about them. A message said that he paid the Transportation Security Administration employees this money, Monisha. If Putin acknowledges a little sin of Trump's, that's why he tolerates him today during the transition, because he must know something about him. All right. We'll be back in a little while. Thank you so much for joining us. Musk sent out a message saying the employees' salaries at the